Good evening. Welcome in daily UPSC editorial audio program. The Wu Money Question, the Times of India. Uh, Ladies, don't fall for these gender traps. The Economic Times. A slippery slope. The Hindu. Now the full editorial. The Wu Money Question, the Times of India. Earning women are a necessary but not sufficient condition for rattling the mail order. Invest in women, accelerate progress. In the theme of this Women's Day, a recognition that women must have economic power if they are to be equal and independent. But is it not so simple? Throughout most of human history, women were not independent agents. They had no assets or income of their own, and merely passed from their parental homes to their marital homes. They depended on marriage to survive. Men's work outside the home was undergirded by private toils of women. This shoddy transaction was justified by ideals of love and feminine duty, where women seemed to give a lot more than they got. This system of separate and unequal sphere has crumbled in the last century. Women have organized and fought to be recognized as full humans with the same range of choices men have. Obviously, money is important. No one can operate freely when materially dependent on someone else. Women need education, income, and resources to be their own persons. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. That is not enough. Even when women make money, they are caught in a web of social and internalized expectations. Non-compliance is punished. Economic independence has not led to parity. It has even sharpened social and intimate backlash against women. In America, women either own or part own nearly half of its firms, but this has not toppled the system of male power and status. In India, too, a woman's earning do not necessarily buy her freedom. It is assumed her money is for the household rather than for herself. Often, her financial success can be seen as a threat to her husband's masculinity, or rather his dominion over her. Recently, Bombay High Court observed that if a married woman didn't want to do housework, she should have said so before getting married. That is just what society thinks. Even now, women put greater effort into caring to their homes and families, prioritizing their families over their earning power. When a relationship breaks up, the man can walk out easily, having only been materially strengthened by the marriage, while the woman who had made financial and emotional sacrifice is left even more vulnerable. For all women's material advances, gender inequality endures it disfigures romantic relationship, families, and workplaces. It is straitjackets meant to, even though it is set up to serve men's interest. It is a system of domination that can only be collectively overturned. Ladies, don't fall for these gender traps. The Economic Times. Step outside the gilded Lakshman Rekhas. In observing Women's Day, the mother of all gender traps, by earmarking March 8 as the day to celebrate women and being women, could be women included, be entrenching biases so ingrained in our patriotic societies that we fail to see how, say in marriages, men bragging about their wives being the ones solely to be credited for their beautiful homes is a backhanded compliment that is a mere room away from the grating edge of the woman's place being in the kitchen. Ascribing ascribing the married woman as the lord and master side of the household is proscribing her role, whether in business ownership or wealth decision making interest. Most arranged marriages are uh, retrofitted with a Napoleon strategy, referring to a short man seeking out shorter men to appear relatively tall. In the case of choosing a son's wife, a careful selection is made from the bridal catalog, in which the woman is less qualified comes from a less wealthy household. The Ghar Jamai, holding a special fear in the patriotic universe, is less voluble, is less tall. Instead, being a great householder, a great mother, and a caring daughter-in-law, a loving wife, become parameters by which women, even outside standard सास भी कभी बहू थी tropes end up measuring themselves. What is excluded is far more than what is included in such gendered Lakshman Rekhas. The acquisition of jewelry, for instance, seen as an alpha female activity, the purpose of which is purportedly to acquire self-worth, is little but a privy purse of loose change that serves two functions: one, to provide the woman wealth at a fractional expense to the men; to make such wealth ornamental in all its senses. The more expensive the proverbial hush money in jewelry for a wife to feel worthwhile would be, as its worth willest $50 million, hardly 0.05 of the total, while a weekend's interest at 8%. The the bezeled woman would feel empowered and enriched without even realizing that her treasure chest is a drop in the oceans of her family's wealth. Instead of being content in gendered cubicles, women should step out of women's circle and engage in all the affairs of men with aplomb, even at the cost of being branded negligent wives, uncaring mothers, bad baboos. A slippery slope. The Hindu tourism in wildlife parks should not be at odds with conservation efforts. The Supreme Court of India has come down heavily on the Uttarakhand government for the felling of about 6,000 trees in the Jim Corbett National Park. The forest officials and a top politician in the state connived to vastly expand the scope of a tighter safari in the park precincts was a travesty of conservation practices, according to the court. In the judgment by a three-judge bench, Justice B.R. Gawai observed the presence of tigers in that forest is an indicator of the well-being of the ecosystem. Unless steps are taken for the protection of tigers, the ecosystem which revolves around tigers cannot be protected. Events like illegal construction and illicit felling of trees like the one in Corbett cannot be ignored. The link between political the link between political corruption and environmental damage is especially relevant in this case, as the court's judgment has consequences for the management of wildlife parks, particularly on the question of whether tiger safaris in the buffer and fringe zones of wildlife parks gel well with conservation measures. The court also alluded to various resorts in the vicinity of the park that often played loud music and posed a threat to animals. Both the Central Zoo Authority and a National Tiger Conservation Authority are expert bodies affiliated to the Union Environment Ministry and tasked with the conservation and protection of wild animals. These organizations, in principle, have no objection to the existence of tiger safaris, provided these are conducted within the ambit of an array of guidelines. Wildlife safaris in a designated spot draw attention away from the core zones of the forest and hence promote its in inviolate nature, as well as raise public awareness about conservation. This is the underlying rationale for safaris. Their overreaching aims thus ought to be ecotourism and not commercial tourism. However, in recent time, the argument that this could be the source of employment opportunities for locals and that state governments should be promoting this has been gaining ground. The recent translocation of cheetah from Africa to Kuno National Park, Madhya Pradesh, also aims to revive the cat's presence and promote tourism. This, however, is a slippery slope and can very easily lead to political capture, as the proceedings in the Corbett Park demonstrate. And the court has recommended that the center evolve guidelines on the conduct of safaris, and the government would do well to deliver on this at the earliest and be extremely circumspect on its messaging regarding tourism and conservation. धन्यवाद. Thank you.